Are we ready?
Yes, you can go.
Okay, so on our webinar of pre-congress workshops, which will be held just before CDI Europe Congress 2017 in Dublin. We have here Gradiola Kapai from the CDI Europe side. We have Amy Barnes and me, myself, Michalina Konkel, and me and Amy will be facilitators of this workshop. Gradiola, would you like to say a few words about the Congress itself?
Yeah, we are very happy to have this Congress on Dublin. It's the first time that CDI Europe is organizing a Congress there. We are starting from the Monday, 22 till 24 with the pre-congress workshop. Then we have the 3 days of the Congress, the normal Congress. Wednesday, 25 till 27. There's also a post-Congress workshop on Sunday, and we welcome everybody to take a look, see what they want to attend. And well, besides the normal Congress, we welcome people to take the most also from the pre-congress workshops.
Thank
you. The word is back to you.
So now we'll have a time to welcome the participants of our workshop and to say a few words about us as facilitators. So I will introduce myself. Somehow presentation doesn't work. I don't know why. So my name is Michalina Konkel. I come from Poland. I live in Krakow. I'm a psychologist and work as a cross-cultural trainer and consultant. My main specialization is Indian culture. I really love to help Europeans in cooperation with Indian culture and to show them how to find ways of common sorry, I can't say that. I got stressed, girls. Sorry.
Okay, so let me just jump in here then, right? So isn't it interesting that the topic of the whole Congress is about turbulent times and about cultural dexterity in times of turbulence? And I think that you know, if we look at what's going on in the world, it can be very overwhelming. And looking at all these events in different parts of the world, and then for us to wonder, right, what's really going on with people, and how we can bridge this seemingly kind of unbridgeable gap sometimes is an amazing sort of thing. And so, from my point of view, I think that this Congress has come at an incredibly critical time in the world. And for me, I'm just really hoping that, you know, this pre-congress workshop is going to happen, because I think it would be a fantastic meeting, I think, for all of us. So a little bit about me. So I met Misha when I set up a business with somebody called John Scherer in Poland, and that was over 6 years ago. And we met at another conference, actually, at a workshop one evening. And we were talking about, you know, how important people are in organizations. And at the end of that talk, you know, Misha was like patiently waiting, and she was the very last person we spoke with. And there was a real meeting of minds and meeting of values and meeting of hearts. And then really the rest is history. So I'm, you know, working with Misha, particularly on the pre-congress workshop, which is called the Cultural Development Intensive. My name is Amy Barnes, and I describe myself on this slide as an artist and a midwife. And what it really means is that even though I've worked in business for over 20 years, firstly within businesses as in HR and in training and in all sorts of different like senior executive roles, and then since 2003 consulting 2 businesses as an external consultant. But I just think that these things are just vehicles, you know, they're different formats for me to do the thing I love doing, which is to help people and organizations and groups to kind of give birth, you know, to the next thing, to the thing that is closer to their nature. And I think that really is the bulk of the work. So like Misha, I like cooking, and I normally I like to eat. So I like to eat something, taste it, and then try and work out, you know, backwards how it was made in the first place. So I reverse engineer food. I love gardening, and that's not been like how I've been for the rest of my, you know, for the earlier part of my life. But in the later parts of my life now, I'm really finding a lot of joy in putting seeds in the ground and then seeing the most fantastic things, coming out of the ground and like really flowering and blooming. So spring and summer are just fabulous times if you're into gardening. Okay. So what we're going to do now, right, is just to talk through a little bit of, the workshop we're proposing, and really hoping that you will be able to join us and you decide to, spend 2.5 days with us before the workshop. So over to Misha.
So why we decided to make such workshop, working as a cross-cultural consultant, and I've just noticed that many of us, at least here in Poland or at least here in Seattle, we focus very often on tools, on developing new assessments, new ways of, new methods of working with the groups. However, I've noticed very rarely courses which can help us to discover ourselves and to do some personal development work on ourselves, which I find the most important actually in our work. And that's why I decided to invite Amy to this program, to connect, to combine our forces and invite this personal development world into this intercultural environment. And we were basing on this idea of 3 levels of personal and professional development. This metaphor probably all of you know very well. This is an iceberg, which is partly visible, but most of it is invisible. And what is visible and what we focus very often on, these are tools. Actually, these are the things which our clients also focus on, and that's what they want to buy. But this is the one thing what they talk about, but the other thing is what they really need. And what they really need is under the water. And these are skills which we have. And the other thing is, we call it human or adaptive tendencies. It's our automatic pilot, our tendencies which we are not aware even of sometimes. And that's why we decided to offer such workshop during this Congress, to give you a chance to discover this, these tendencies, your own autopilot, which direct you to make certain decisions while working with clients. What else about what's behind the course, Amy?
Yeah. So when we look at these adaptive tendencies, which are really much deeper embedded ways of being or ways of looking at the world, it's like, we have this pair of glasses and we don't even realize that I'm looking at the world through these glasses and not another pair of glasses, right? So these really much deeper tendencies require a particular way of like accessing them. And an underlying principle is based on this paradoxical theory of change. And I don't know if you've come across this before, but what it says is change occurs when one becomes what he is, and not when he tries to become what he isn't. So change does not take place through a coercive attempt by the individual or by another person to change him, but it does take place if one takes the time and effort to be what he is, to be fully invested in his current positions. So if I look at, if we look at the iceberg as it was, and look at the skill level, which is just below the water, I think a lot of the times when we do intercultural training or training of any sort, we are trying to kind of give people skills so that they can change their behavior, or we're trying to give knowledge so that people can change their behavior. But in a way, unless we understand a little bit deeper as to why we have those behaviors in the first place, why we have those attitudes or mindset in the first place, where did that come from? Making the necessary kind of switch or the opening in the way we look at the world, that is always going to be a little bit artificial. So this is why we're saying, well, in order to bring about those deeper levels of change, what we need to do is to be really curious and interested as to like, oh, isn't it interesting how I've come to have this attitude or this attitude in the first place? So this leads us to say that, the CDI is really about not having to change ourselves, but is coming home to who we are, and to kind of take a look at like, who's really home? Who's this person who's here? And why do I have the attitudes, or how did I come to have this mindset? And I didn't even realize I had them. Okay, so in the method. Are we making any sense, Gradiola? Just checking.
Yes, it's a pretty nice perspective, and well, like all the theories, at least the one that I read of, they try to make you open-minded and try to make you see through yourself how you created these perceptions in order to change them, but never was, at least until now, for me, a way of not challenging yourself,
Yes.
but trying to know yourself in a more peaceful way. So it's really interesting. Really.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, that's very much where we're coming from, right? Which is, how do we befriend ourselves, and how to welcome actually more of who we really are, right? And allow ourselves to be more of who we are. If we're trainers or facilitators or consultants, we are now also allowing other people to do the same. And that's an incredibly empowering thing. So it creates a space. That's when, paradoxically, that's when changes really start to happen. So that's the word.
Change becomes where there is no fear. Someone will discover who you really are, because you are who you are and you use your potential. So to explore it, even more of this, like the background of cultural development intensive, we based this concept of on the course which is called Leadership Development Intensive. The course was originated by John Jacob Scherer. Amy is the facilitator of this course. I'm facilitator in the training. So I hope that I should also become one. And the whole concept is based on 5 questions that change everything. This is also the title of John's book. And the first question is, what confronts me? So the first area which we focus on, these are situations which makes us feel uncomfortable while working with clients. So what we will do during the workshop, we will try to analyze them, to try to find a pattern which shows us what there is what's there specific about this situation that really makes us uncomfortable, and as John often says, make our needle jump. So we're reacting on this. The second question is, what am I bringing? Amy, would you like to explore on this one?
Yeah, sure. So what am I, oh, by the way, I think that we're very excited to have adapted the LDI into the intercultural setting, right? So we've changed it so that, people who are doing the intercultural work can access the 5 questions. So we're super excited about that because that's new and it's something that we're doing specifically for the CITA conference. What am I bringing is to every situation that I find really challenging, I always bring with me a set of beliefs, a set of assumptions, a set of stories, a set of past experiences, right? And that is almost predictive. So we shortcut the situation to think oh, I've been here before. I've seen this kind of person before. And then the next thing is, I know what they're going to say and I know what they think. And so when we go through this kind of loop, there is a predictive nature to how we're approaching this challenge. And we will have with it, a set of expectations and a set of outcomes that we know this situation will actually deliver. And we then behave, in ways which are also predictable, because this is how we deal with, X, Y, Z in this kind of situation. So what am I bringing has a highly a predictable and past element in it. And so we connect, most of the time we connect with a past experience that was really like this one, that was highly challenging. And it it makes us, already feel in particular ways, like I'm really scared of this, or I really dislike this, or I really hate this, or oh, I always feel so, helpless, or I feel so useless in this kind of situation. So what am I bringing it has a certain predictive quality about it, okay, which will make this particular situation on the dashboard. Does that make sense? So an example I have is, and most of the time what we're bringing, we're not conscious of. It's just the way it is, and it happens so automatically. So a personal example is that when I went to Poland, I put on a lot of weight, like a massive weight, like probably 20 pounds. So I don't know what that is in kilos, right? But it's a lot. And I'm a small person, so it really shows. And when I started to look at it, and I was wondering, gosh, I could really do with losing weight, what am I going to do? I started to look at that challenge to say, well, what's changed? Since I've been living in Poland, working out of Poland for 6 years, right? What's changed? And a really big change factor was the diet I was having. So the food I was eating was very different from what I was used to. But I was also eating 3 or 4 full meals a day, right? And how it relates to what am I bringing is, I was then trying to understand, what was going on in those 3 meals that made them so calorific. And an important thing is that I'm, as you can see, I'm Chinese. And in Chinese culture, particularly my family's culture, food equates love and respect. And so with every meal that I was having with somebody, usually a client or a colleague or an associate or, a friend, my Chinese cultural values just automatically kicked in. So I brought to these meals years of my, Chinese upbringing. So of course, I wasn't thinking about it. So I just assumed that everyone around me thought the same. So surely everybody in the world, looked at food as, a source of love and respect. And that if I didn't eat everything on the plate, I would be offending somebody big time. And then I started to look at the facts, right, at what was really going on. And I noticed that, my Polish colleagues very often ate very little, or they just had a cup of tea, like Misha's having now, or that they would have really a very small, like maybe a small starter, and that's all they ate, right? And there was no concern or worry that they would offend anyone, because that's just the kind of cultural norm over there. And so I really started to be aware of like what I was bringing, all the story, all this background, all this cultural stuff, all this cultural training that I've had to the situation. And I just kind of assumed that, without questioning even, that everyone surely behaved in the same way. And when I started looking at all these assumptions, I was much better able to kind of think to myself, well, actually, all this background and all this history really is not applicable here. It's a different situation altogether. And really from that place of understanding, I was much better able, right, to adapt, truly adapt to my new situation. So that's a personal story that hopefully highlights a little bit of, what am I bringing? And we all do it, and we all do it to many different situations, but particularly to the ones which we find challenging.
Okay, so that was what am I bringing? The third question is what runs me, and what's behind these questions. These are not only our this is this autopilot which runs us. So these are rules which are directing our lives, which we are not aware of. These are the things which we soaked with when we were brought up by our parents or by our grandparents or the other members of rules, which we adopted as our own rules for living, actually. And some of them are connected with different aspects of life, but some of them are strictly connected with this, with our attitude to strangers, to the other, these are these explicit and implicit rules how to treat people who are not members of your family. Amy, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, so that includes, like, as you say, all the spoken and unspoken rules, and those rules become what I should do, what I should not do, what I must do, what I must not do, what I ought to do because it's the right thing to do, and what I ought not to do. So all these are kind of unspoken and that we use, right, for dealing with situations, for being in the world.
Yeah, so I will give you very quickly my example here. For example, my lesson from my childhood was to be always not only open for others, but very hospitable, and to treat others, strangers, very well, to invite them always to your house. And now, working as a cross-cultural trainer, it happens very often to me that I make friends with participants of my trainings, and I meet, maybe sometimes it isn't. And we would like to invite you to reflect on this autopilot actions, activities which you do, and to reflect if they are always helpful or not helpful, just to be aware of their influence on your life. So that was what runs me.
Hold on a minute. So let me just add, right? So in addition to all those rules, what we've also created, and it's very, very powerful, is that we must never that list. So earlier when we had that exchange with Gradiola, right, about like really getting to know ourselves and to welcome more of ourselves, right, into the world, into the space, part of nevers. And then somehow the nevers are so powerful, they always are restrictive, like they limit our behavior. It would place a limit on what we must not do, right? And so we kind of keep ourselves in this very respectable channel of that channel, okay? And I think part of the, and we call that the shadow, And part of what the CDI does is to explore what's in that bag of must not, and then to look for something which might be really critical to our work from that bag of must not. Okay, so in a lot of other trainings might deal with the shadow, and the usual way of working with the shadow is to know what it is and to embrace it. Like, and to do is to go a little bit further and to say, wow, this is so cool, right? That I have the thing that I must never do. So in terms of my effectiveness, right, what might possibly be in this must not bag, this must not thing, that I might be able to pull out. And not only is it not evil or bad, now that, you know, that's the magic of the CDI, and that's usually like a real wow and a real aha. So it's called peeling. It's one of the activities we do, which is called peeling the onion.
Yeah, and as Amy said, this work with a shadow is like a portal of change for people, that they are finding their gold hidden in some mud. And using that, they can reach much more. Okay, I have much time, so I will speed up. So a fourth question is, what calls me? So what is there in this intercultural job, intercultural world? What is really calling you, your potential, your talents? What's so specific about yourself that the world needs? So at this point, we are working on the thing which is called GPS for each participant, which is general purpose statement. So GPS is a kind of like normal GPS. It's like a compass which will show you the direction, where to go, what's good for you, and how to develop and use this potential hidden in your shadow during your work. And the last question, what will unleash me? This is the most practical, what you have learned or discovered about yourself, into action. This is planning how to implement these changes in your life, and how to support them, who will support you, how to sustain these changes. Yeah, Amy, anything? Okay, so let's move forward. I have to learn this too. So the outcomes of the workshop. First of all, finding and naming the origins of your cross-cultural attitudes. During answering our questions, I will have a chance to reflect actually where was the beginning of your attitudes? Where was the sources of your approach to people who are not from your culture? Amy, can you explore the second one?
So as I said, you know, one of the excitement is to be able to tap into the shadow and to look for something that's really critical to your effectiveness now. And we're saying you don't have to change anything at all. But what you might want to do is to incorporate, you know, add to your repertoire, you know, more things which you can offer the world. So that's really
then
cool.
You can become more professional in helping clients in development of their own intercultural sensitivity. How you can do it? Because you won't never again be hooked with their approach. It means that you will be more free, more acceptable. You know how to deal with it.
Yeah, so more spacious and effective, because, you know, as I allow more of myself, right, to be in the space, I also allow, you know, everyone else to be more of themselves in the space. And so overall, it is a more spacious environment for fun and intercultural work. That spaciousness and that freedom, the lack of fear, is very important. Yeah.
And the last one, connected with the previous one, is to be able to allow more and hold more, so that everyone is freer to generate creative options. So because you will accept yourself who you are, you will allow others to become what they really are, and they can allow themselves to be more creative and to connect with new sources of ideas and knowledge. Okay, so our journey, how will we work? We propose you 3 phases of our workshop. First is connect with pre-work. We will send you a questionnaire, which is a kind of auto-reflection. So you'll have the chance to reflect on things which we call tigers. And tiger is a situation which is really challenging for you, which you really confront with, and then to try to analyze it on your own, and then have a coaching call with one of us to see and be prepared during the workshop. The second phase of our journey is the course itself, which will last 2.5 days. And I will also invite you to have a post-work, which will be application of your stretches. What are stretches? Stretches are are actions
activities,
which you activities which you decide to implement in your life, which are connected with tapping into your shadow. So these are these golden
nuggets,
nuggets, golden nuggets, which you can find in a mud of shadow. And then we will have a group call to like the follow-up of stretches if you find challenging or not, and if you need any support from our side. Yeah, Amy, anything?
No, I think it is. I mean, the whole thing is like, it's not a heavy workshop, although, you know, sometimes it can be, and it is intensive, but it's also very experiential and it's fun. And we try and, you know, identify really fun and challenging things for people to walk away and do inspiration of what people, you know, end up doing in their day-to-day lives. So it's a great process.
Yeah. I just reminded one of these calls and some successes. And all right. So how it looked like the first day, answering for these two first questions would confront me. What am I bringing? Ideal world. So what is it actually about you working as intercultural specialist? So why would you like to do it? So you're not only bringing the past into the situation, but you also bring your hopes into the situations and your fears. So we'd like to also touch this topic. Then number two, it's what runs me, what we discussed before, what calls me. So what is your automatic pilot you are not aware of? What do you focus on and what do you omit? What's your shadow and how to embrace this shadow and going forward? And the last day is it's a half day. What will unleash you? So what is your GPS? And so this general purpose statement, which I work, and what actions can you undertake in order to face your tiger? So during these 3 days, we will come back here and there to your tigers to see, you know, so it is tangible, as you can see, the effects of our work.
Yeah, and I will add as well that it's not theoretical. Yeah. So it's not, you know, 2.5 days of theory. The subject of our exploration is each one of us in the room, and because, you know, none of us are the finished article, and so every time, you know, I do this, every time Nisha does it about ourselves, which we're very excited about, and we'll be sharing our own experiences with you, and that's all it is. We're not by any means experts, as in, you know, I'm perfect. far from it.
Yeah, and I think
what's shared experience.
Yeah, what's the biggest value in this course is just. Yeah, you learn about yourself, but through or with the help of others who are in the room. So the atmosphere is very, very supportive. And as you described yourself as a midwife, and I really think that the facilitators of these trainings are midwives of, you know, of new lives. Maybe it's too much, but yeah, for some people it is. It's really.
So for me personally, I mean, I've facilitated the LDI, right? So it's the same process, probably 40 something times, maybe 50. And most recently the solo one-on-one program. So and it's always such a gift to be able to do this. So we sincerely hope that we'll be able to offer it workshop slot.
And if you have any questions, please contact us. There are our email addresses on the Theatre Europe site. We'll be happy to answer. And we can also connect you with some people who have experience LDIs, so they can give you their testimonials and see how it really is to discover your shadow. And I believe it's all from our side. Graviola, would you like to?
Do you have any questions? On behalf of people who.
Well, we have also Mr. Carter, which has joined us among, and maybe Mr. Carter has some questions as well. I was wondering, because how the process would be, and you explained already that we would have pre-work. I guess you will send us the materials, right? Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
So my question would be, I will type it. Okay, one of the things. Okay.
Yeah, because if we're gonna have pre-calls, yeah.
That's good. And the post group call will happen in 1 week, in 1 month. How will we follow up?
might be listening. Okay, so rather than 6, I think, or whatever it is. It's usually after a month, and we normally do it via Google Hangout or Skype, as to which medium is best.
Well, for my side, these were the questions. I'm really looking forward to see you in Dublin and to be part of the workshop and helping you with organizing it.
Yeah, I was also wondering about Peter, because if he's with us, maybe Peter, you would like to ask us.
Is he still on or not?
It's a mystery.
Okay, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, if you hear us, you can contact us anytime you like. This is my email address, so if you have any questions.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to meeting you in Dublin.
Okay.
Great, looking forward to it.
Thank you, Radiola. Take care.